Well, dang, I didn't expect you guys to be this vocal. How's it going, everybody? ChaoticMeatball here, and welcome back to the channel. So today, we're going to be jumping straight into our first Hardcore Nuzlocke using only a single Pokemon, in this case, a Legendary. In the last episode of the Fire Red Leaf Green Legendary Speedrun series, which you can check out in its entirety in the playlist linked in the iCard on screen, as well as in the description once this video is over, I asked for people to comment about what legendary Pokemon they'd like to see me use in a Hardcore Nuzlocke setting, and I saw Regigigas over most other legendaries. Not to mention, the highest upvoted comment was for this run in Platinum, so here we are. Regigigas is an interesting beast. With a base stat total of 670, you'd think that this would be a walk in the park. It's tied with the likes of Kyogre and Groudon, while only being 10 points under the likes of Dialga, Palkia, and Garatina. But what makes it so weak? Well, the answer lies in the ability Slow Start, where Regigigas' attack and speed stats are reduced by half for 5 turns, effectively making it base 80 attack and base 50 speed until it gets its act together. However, it's a powerhouse in fights where they last that long, having Stab, 102 power return with max happiness, as well as powerful coverage moves like Earthquake, the Elemental Punches, Aerial Ace, Avalanche, and some special moves like Thunderbolt, Hidden Power, and Focus Blast. Since it's not like the special attack is halved during that time, though it's already base 80, so it doesn't help much. I'd say that it's easy to stall out those 5 turns, but Regigigas can't even learn Protect in this generation, with the best thing possible being Drain Punch in order to keep its HP high enough to survive for 5 turns, while backing it with Confuse Ray, a 100% accurate confusion move that gives them a 50-50 chance of hitting themselves. I guess that's the best we can do, though seeing as the TM for Thunder Wave is locked behind the Battle Frontier, I really wish we could have access to that. Parafusion would definitely make it more consistent. Alas, let's stop talking strategy and punch some Pokemon in the face. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, as well as Beast Coast Pokemon for my collaborative content that I do with Aaron, Cybertron Zhang, James Beck, and Celio's Network, and make sure to leave a comment down below suggesting the legendary and game that you'd want to see given a solo Hardcore Nuzlocke in the future. The top comment will get made into a video, so make sure you upvote the one you want. So, the starter Riper placed for this run was of course Turtwig. I want to give Barry the hardest Pokemon for me to take down in Infernape eventually, though I wouldn't be surprised if this comes to bite me in the ass later on. His Chimchar is relatively easy to destroy starting out though. I have Dizzy Punch, and that's able to 2-shot Chimchar with the Stab normal typing. Seeing as I'm using a legendary though, I've got the slow EXP group, meaning it takes much more EXP to get to level 100 compared to other Pokemon, so I figured I'd use that in this run's advantage, as level 2 Starly provides speed EVs at 16 EXP each, and level 3 Shinx provide attack EVs at 25 each, both of which being the lowest EXP yield of each one. I can't max out sadly, but I can get around 100 speed EVs as I hit level 11, giving me plenty enough room before the cap to move through the required trainers on routes 202, as well as the battle against Barry on Route 203. Not much is different this time around, only that he has a Starly at level 7, which I'm able to KO with a Dizzy Punch and a Knockoff, taking a Growl before Chimchar was sent in. It just keeps spamming Leer instead of attacking, so I'm able to get a damageless victory with a Knockoff and 2 Dizzy Punches for the win. After looking ahead though, there are absolutely no required battles between here and Roark, so I'm free to use the remainder of my experience on EV training, mostly in attack at this point, getting through Route 203, the Orberg Gate, and retrieving Roark out of the Orberg Mine to get him into his gym. This will not be easy, seeing as I only have physical moves, and the only move that's neutral against rock types is Knockoff, a dark type move with 20 power, so I'm gonna have to rely a bit on Confuse Ray to get me past Slow Start and into a barrage of Dizzy Punches and Return. He's got 3 Pokemon. First up is Geodude, so I go for Confuse Ray, getting him to hit himself for the turn as I try Return next turn. I'm not sure how much this does at this point, and oh geez, not nearly enough. I take a Rock Throw as I throw down another Confuse Ray as he snapped out, though he doesn't hit himself on the next 2 turns. But he does miss a Rock Throw, giving me the chance to whittle him down with Knockoff, getting him to half HP as Slow Start finally deactivates, giving me the chance to fire off Dizzy Punch for the KO in tandem with Confusion damage, leading to Onix. I figured Confuse Ray is still safer here, and that's correct as Onyx hits himself 3 times in a row, getting him to waste a potion as I get him down to red HP again, hitting a single rock throw as another Dizzy Punch picks up the KO, with Cranidos being his last man standing. Hilariously enough, this thing is no match for Regigigas. I use Confuse Ray, and due to Cranidos' high attack, hitting himself for around a quarter of his own HP. This allows me to fire off a single Dizzy Punch before he hits himself for the KO and the win. Confuse Ray really coming in clutch, though it really would have been nice to have Ice Punch right about now. It's a level 1 move with that, Fire, and Thunder Punch all appear before the starting moveset of Dizzy Punch, Knockoff, Confuse Ray, and Foresight, all of which are also level 1 moves in the coding of the game, so it really sucks, but we're working through it and we'll be able to get them eventually. Heading back over to Jubilife City, I take the opportunity to grab a Bidoof for HM usage later on, as once it's evolved, along with Tropius, are the most optimal pair of HM users, being able to learn all 8 amongst themselves combined. I did more EV training, getting Regigigas to level 18 before clearing out Team Galactic and proceeding north to Floraroma Town, chasing off more Galactic goons until we run into Mars, who's got a good team as of this point, but easily offset with the power of the Giga Chad himself, Oonga Boonga. She starts off with Zubat, flinching me with a Bite on turn 1 and using Toxic on turn 2, but thanks to a held Pecha Berry, I'm able to recover, hitting Dizzy Punch for the near KO as it confuses Zubat. This is going to be a coin toss, because if she goes for a second Toxic here, I might have to reset the run, but thankfully we get good luck, seeing the confusion self-hit, KOing, and leading into Purugly. We're on turn 4 for Slow Start, with that being Fake Out and turn 5 leading to a critical scratch. Not doing too much as we're able to start hitting full on, using Knockoff to eliminate her Citrus Berry, then firing off a Dizzy Punch for the KO from there. I wonder if I had just gone for the punch, if it would have just one-shot from full, but hey, I'm not mad. We didn't die to Toxic, that's all I'm asking for. Route 205 is easily maneuverable with 0 required trainers there, though Eterna Forest has 4 of them. They're not a problem, I'm able to keep well under the level cap for Eterna City's gym, getting to Gardenia. I still have a full level's worth of EXP at this point after taking out her trainers though, so grabbing some more of our EVs, we're able to take her on afterwards. Turtwig's up first, and honestly, I think this is the most frightening thing on the team. It's got Reflect, which essentially quarters Regigigas' power for the first 5 turns in tandem with Slow Start, and Grass Knot, which is a 120 pace power against me because of Regigigas' weight. Thankfully though, I'm able to get off Confuse Ray before she moves, though the Reflect still does come down. I'm able to start using Dizzy Punch, and turn 2 is Sunny Day, not a threat. Turn 3 is Grass Knot though, and wow, that actually did very little. I got well over half HP after 2 of them, and after a Super Potion, I'm able to one-shot from full with a critical hit on turn 5, eliminating Reflect and Slow Start as Cherrim comes in. Dizzy Punch is barely unable to one-shot, but she just uses Safeguard, which, sure, turns off my Confuse Ray, but 2 more returns after a Super Potion finishes her off, leaving just Roserade. 1 Dizzy Punch to the face later, and that's all she wrote. The Forest Badge is in hand, and I'm out of here. Well, not out of the city. I've still got to punch Jupiter's Pokemon in the face a few times as well. She's got a Zubat just like Mars, but it's nowhere near as threatening, outspeeding with a Wing Attack as I hit Confuse Ray, then it hits itself twice in a row as Knockoff twice brings it into the red. Turn 4 and she's landing a second Wing Attack, but Knockoff KOs and leads to Skuntank. I take turn 5 to use Knockoff and eliminate her Citrus Berry, though she lands Poison Gas. I don't have a Pecha Berry equipped, instead I'm using an Oran Berry, but at this stage of the fight it shouldn't matter. Night Slash lands for minimal damage as the Oran Berry heals me, and Dizzy Punch and Return are enough in tandem to KO Skuntank after it hits itself in Confusion, giving me the win. I think if Night Slash had gotten a critical hit, I would have been in trouble, but other than that I think the Oran Berry was the correct play. I'm already not seeing it as useful, and I'd rather save the status healing berries for later, more important fights. Now, literally every area between here and Hearthome City are no big deal, but what is that Fantina's the 3rd gym leader of the game, and the best move I have to attack her is pre-buff Knockoff, being 20 power. Sure, Regigigas is immune to the ghost-type attacks, but her Duskull has Will-O-Wisp, and there's no way I'm getting past her team with halved attack. That's literally 10 power on a non-stat move. And sure, it's super effective, so technically it's 20, but I still need to find something better. Rock Tomb is available in the Wayward Cave, is 50 power, and can slow down the opponent. I think this might be the best chance I have, not to mention it helps take care of the Drifloons running around on various trainers in here, finally replacing Dizzy Punch. A shame, really. Unga Bunga Return isn't as catchy as ooh ooh ah ah Unga Bunga Punch. Fantina starts off with that Duskull, which I hit Confuse Ray on turn 1, outspeeding and getting hit with Pursuit. Alright, one turn without Will-O-Wisp, good stuff. I do have a Rossberry, but this could come down to the wire depending on her random move chosen. Turn 2 is Future Sight, great, but turn 3 is Will-O-Wisp. It lands, but the Rossberry cures it as turn 4 I land Confuse Ray again, getting her to hit herself, barely missing the KO in turn 5 with knockoff as she uses Will-O-Wisp. And thankfully misses thanks to that 75% accuracy. We are in business, baby. 2 knockoffs KO after she's fully healed, leaving just 2 Pokemon and Regigigas at nearly full HP. Haunter's second, and Confuse Ray is again the play, hitting herself as Rock Tomb misses with her landing Hypnosis. Alright, nothing terrible as she hits herself in Confusion on the first turn of my sleep, but then snaps out on the second and lands Confuse Ray. Great, Unga Bunga wakes up, hits itself, but then manages to land Rock Tomb next turn for the one-shot KO, leading to Mismagius. Rock Tomb lands through Confusion once again, doing under half with her using Psybeam. And it actually does pitiful damage, only 11, so I should be able to survive 3 more of them. Using Knockoff to bring her near the red, and getting rid of the Citrus Berry as another Psybeam hits. This baits out a healing item, so I get another free Knockoff, but this is the preemptive end of the fight, seeing as Knockoff gets a critical here, finishing off Mismagius and giving me the hard-fought win. Well, hard, lucky win, I guess. That could have just been back-to-back Will-O-Wisp turns on turns 1 and 2, and ended the run right there. But because we won, we're gonna keep going. Immediately after in the gate towards the next route is a battle with Barry, and now that he's evolved as Starly, it's got Intimidate matched with Double Team, so I'm in for a world of hurt thanks to Slow Start. Fortunately, turns 1 and 2 go well as Confuse Ray and Rock Tomb land through 2 Double Teams, though Return misses on turn 3 as he lands Wing Attack. Turn 4, Return manages to land as he goes for a 3rd Double Team, then it hits again on turn 5, getting the KO as soon as Slow Start ends. That's actually perfect. Now I can KO Monferno with 2 returns, taking a single Mach Punch before it goes down. 3rd is Weasel, an easy one-shot with Return, leaving just Roselia to fall to the same fate. Good stuff. Glad to see Regigigas' friendship finally reaching the levels that makes Return an auto-win button against anything that's not physically bulky or immune after Slow Start ends. The path from here through Salacion Town and into Veilstone City doesn't have anything difficult, though obstacles like Shieldon and Driftblim are rather annoying at the moment considering my limited move pool. Though I'm finally able to arrive while having enough room under the level cap just in case I happen to run into literally every single trainer inside of the gym, and with my EVs maxed out at this point, I think I'm in good hands to fight them myself. Though, beforehand, I do make sure to go to the department store and grab myself a TM for Focus Blast. This is exclusively to hit Lucario as hard as physically possible. Well, specially possible. Haha. Jokes. Seeing as I just didn't have the room to put Revenge in my move pool when Regigigas tried learning it at level 25. And with that, I'm able to get to level 32, slap a Wiki Berry onto Regigigas for some extra HP since I still can't get Citrus Berries, and go in. Maylene starts off with a Meditite, a relatively easy Pokemon to handle, so I go for Confuse Ray as she outspeeds and uses Fake Out. Fantastic move to see on turn 1, barely any damage, 1 turn down on the clock. Turn 2, I outspeed, hit Confuse Ray, and Meditite hits itself. Perfect. And turn 3, I'm able to KO with Return. I'm not sure if this is the best thing to see Machoke in on turn 4, but I can tolerate it. I hit another Confuse Ray as he hits himself. Good stuff. Return lands for well over half as Rock Tomb is used, and misses. Literally the most perfect 5 turns I could ever expect from this fight whatsoever. I KO with a second Return, and Lucario is the sole survivor. But not for long, as Return does over half with Drain Punch doing a massive amount to me, but it didn't do half my HP, so I just use another Return, bringing her to red HP, then taking a Force Palm that brings Regigigas all the way down to 11 HP, but thanks to a lack of paralysis, I'm able to hit a 3rd Return for the KO and the win. Yeah, I know I said I got Focus Blast for this fight, but I couldn't bring myself to click on a move that was 70% accuracy. Lord knows I already have poor enough luck in these games as it is. Ugh, God, I hate Focus Blast. Thankfully, there's nothing to worry about between here and Pastoria City, aside from some more Galactic goons, but once I'm there, I'm so happy because it's time for the move reminder, baby! There were 2 heart scales at my disposal at this point, and the first of them is immediately going to Thunder Punch, replacing knockoff since, dear God, this move is atrocious until Gen 6. Anyway, Thunder Punch is actually sick for prep against Barry since he challenges me to a battle right before the gym, and he leads with Starevia. Rock Tomb's a bit too inaccurate to be hitting something using Double Team, so I just go with Thunder Punch after using Confuse Ray, hitting both moves through said Double Team and only taking a single wing attack as Thunder Punch grabs the KO on turn 3. This is a wee bit rough with Monferno coming out this early, but this is alleviated thanks to Confuse Ray, as Mach Punch hits only once as he hits himself on turn 5, though Mach Punch does have priority, hitting Regigigas a second time after Slow Start wears off, going down to a second return. The rest of the team falls in droves though, with Roselia going down to 1 return, Weasel doing the same, though an Aqua Jet with priority did give me a little bit of a fright, but I knew that little Weasel wasn't going to juke jack all to Regigigas. With that said though, it's time for the gym, and I'm well under the level cap here, seeing as I enter at level 34 with the cap being Wakes Floatzel at 37, so I just clear out the required trainers, get to level 37 afterwards, and grab a Citrus Berry on Route 212 just for security reasons. Want to make sure I have the best chance of survival. He leads off with Gyarados, and yeah, Intimidate really sucks. So does Waterfall when it outspeeds and has a 30% chance of flinching Regigigas. Fortunately, turns 1 and 2 I don't flinch, giving Regigigas a shot to get off Confuse Ray and a return, with turn 3 leading to Gyarados hitting himself as I get off another return, bringing him to healing range. A Hyper Potion comes down as I expect Gyarados to snap out of Confusion instead, so I use Confuse Ray, doing nothing but burning another turn, and turn 5 I finally bust out the Thunder Punch after he hits himself, though it's still not enough despite the quad weakness. Though with Slow Start done and over with, it's time to sweep. Thunder Punch overkills Gyarados into oblivion, with Floatzel being the follow-up. I use Return here, seeing as 102 power with Stab is higher than Thunder Punch's 75 power times 2 because it's super effective, but not times 1.5 because it's not Stab. So yeah, math, don't you just love it? Anyway, Return does well over half as Floatzel's Citrus Berry activates for not enough. It hits a crunch as my Citrus Berry activates, putting me back over half as a second return KOs, leaving just Quagsire. And here's why I put a Citrus Berry instead of a Chesto Berry on. Return does over half, Yawn connects, and it's not fast enough to put me to sleep before a second return connects and KOs for the win. I'm not sure if I needed the Citrus Berry to prevent Quagsire from being inclined to go for an attacking move, but alas, I'll take the win. 5 badges down, 3 in the lead to go. There's a pretty decent stretch of things going on that aren't really interesting to a Nuzlocke, though I suppose this is Platinum, and I should talk about the Cyrus fight over in Celestic Town right before getting the HM for Surf. His lead is Sneasel, a pretty pitiful Pokemon at this point, to the point where I don't even respect this thing enough to stall for 5 turns to eliminate Slow Start, KOing with 2 returns and taking 2 Ice Punches before Golbat comes out. And here comes the punishment to my hubris. It outspeeds, nailing a Poison Fang and Toxic Poisoning me immediately. Shocking, guess that's what I get. Confuse Ray lands on my opponent as my Aguav Berry recovers a bit of HP and a Poison Fang lands, though Confusion is able to hold him off from hitting me anymore, KOing with 2 returns as his last Pokemon Murkrow comes out. Now this is my final turn. Poison's gonna KO me next turn, but with Slow Start ending, Return should be able to KO Murkrow from full while also outspeeding, and thank goodness it does, ending the battle on a very close note. That's what I get for underestimating a generally considered to be easy battle with a legendary Pokemon. Regigigas is not as good as I think it is. Either way, this gives me the HM for Surf, meaning Canalave City's next on the docket, though I do have a few errands to run. I think Barry's team, especially the lead Staraptor, is too strong for Regigigas to take on without running Slow Start out ASAP, so I did a few things. First, I replaced Rock Tomb with Drain Punch, and since it only has 5 power points in this generation, I went and searched for 3 power point ups to boost that to 8, while also grabbing the EXP share south of Eterna City to sink EXP into Beat Barrel. See, Regigigas is not going to be able to keep under the level cap with the remainder of the required trainers in this section if I don't do this, so I'd rather not force a reset and instead use an HM Pokemon to siphon some of that despite not appearing in battle. Barry's in fighting mode though on the Candice City Bridge, starting off with Staraptor, newly evolved and still rocking Intimidate, going for a turn 1 double team that leads to Confuse Ray missing, and since I expect an attack on turn 2, I go for Drain Punch, but instead the second double team comes down. Turn 3, I see a takedown performed, doing light damage to Regigigas as I try for another Confuse Ray, missing again. Though turn 4 manages to let me land another Drain Punch, and since I've still got around 3/4 of my HP left as turn 5 rolls around, with takedown doing a pretty good chunk of damage, I hit another Drain Punch to help bring Regigigas back up in tandem with a Citrus Berry. But as soon as Slow Start is gone, he swaps out his Staraptor for some reason, losing the double teams that he set up. I guess it makes sense because it gives him another Intimidate, but I have no clue. He goes into Heracross and I nearly one-shot it with Return, using another while outspeeding the next turn to KO and lead into Infernape. Return nearly one-shots as Regigigas tanks a Brick Break, KOing with Drain Punch next turn to get some recovery as Staraptor makes its return, going down immediately to Return, but... jokes. God, I keep making them. It gets me to -2 attack though, which is all that matters. It's rough, but Floatzel's second to last here, hitting Aqua Jet just so I can fire back with Drain Punch, offsetting the damage completely. But of course, this stupid thing has to make a mark. It gets a critical with a second Aqua Jet as I hit a second Drain Punch. Then I land a third to effectively be at the same HP I started at before Floatzel, leaving just Roserade to be outsped and fall to a single return. Makes sense. Gardenia's went down in one shot, so did Barry's. Here's hoping Cynthia's goes just like that in the endgame. One gym later, and I'm going into the fight against Byron at level 41 with only a single move changed, and that's replacing Thunder Punch with Earthquake. This move is bonkers, and was technically available as soon as I had access to Cut. Would have probably been worth picking up for Lucario specifically instead of Focus Blast looking back on it. But that's about it. Maybe it would have helped with a few walls throughout the game, but who cares? I have it now when I need it. Byron leads off with a Magneton, having Magnet Pull instead of Levitate, so while I could fire off Earthquake immediately to one-shot, I opt to run through the slow start turns, confusing Magneton and firing off a Drain Punch as 2 Metal Sounds come out, making Thunderbolt do a near one-shot to Regigigas. Yeah, this already puts me in a tight spot. Thankfully, the second Drain Punch pulls Magneton into healing range, and because the AI is not smart enough to read that he goes first, the Hyper Potion comes down, allowing for me to fire off Earthquake for the one-shot from full on turn 4, leading to Steelix. Drain Punch has to be the move here. I've got to play around Flash Cannon, and the higher HP I have, the better chance I have of living it. And sure enough, Drain Punch actually mattered, as I recovered 11 HP and only survived a Flash Cannon with 9. But at this point, it's over. Slow Start ends, and I'm able to destroy Steelix and Bastiodon with 1 Earthquake each, winning the fight, though I did get a critical on Steelix. Looking back on the calculation, though, it wasn't needed, thankfully. I'm starting to realize why Regigigas is considered to be a bad legendary, though. Slow Start turns are getting harder and harder to run through without immediately risking death, and I couldn't even stall for enough turns on a Magneton due to it using Metal Sound. And while I'd love to have something like a double team, that's just cheesing fights instead of using a consistent strategy. And Regigigas doesn't get anything akin to Mr. Haze in order to eliminate stat changes, nor does it get something like Refresh to heal status ailments. So it's kind of hard to come up with a strategy other than exactly what I named it. Unga Bunga, punch opponent in face real hard. So, something I decided to grab before heading towards the 2 Galactic admins was another TM for Return, as well as the Silk Scarf. I'm not going to need these for Saturn, but I figured I'd pick them up from the game corner right now since I'm in the area, then headed south to Lake Valor to take Saturn's team to town. He leads with Golbat, and my moveset cannot take this thing. Straight up, I'm just sitting here with Drain Punch and Confuse Ray hoping to chip it down until it's finally gone, though this almost backfires. See, Golbat has both Supersonic and Toxic, so I need the safeguard spot, and Confuse Ray was the best way for me to ensure that I didn't get damaged throughout this time with Poison Fang. Though that kinda didn't work, seeing as Regigigas took around 75% damage overall while stalling out Golbat, eventually managing to grab the KO and lead into Toxic Rogue. I'm long past Slow Start being a problem here, so this is a one-shot with Earthquake, leaving just Bronzor. And no, I didn't think this had heat proof. I knew it had Levitate. I just thought 2 Drain Punches was going to be enough to KO, but they're unfortunately not, leaving me with a little less than half HP and Confuse Ray. After Bronzor managed to hit itself 4 times though, It finally went down, giving me the win. But boy howdy if that wasn't the stupidest execution of that fight anyone has ever seen. I just can't get rid of Drain Punch or Earthquake. They're one-time TMs in this game, and they are too good, so I just sucked it up and went in without return. However, with Saturn over and done with, I don't need Confuse Ray for Mars, so I replace it with Return, moving to Lake Verity to punch her fat cat in the face. She leads with Golbat, so I just go with Safeguard, being outsped by Air Cutter before going for Return. It does over half, allowing for another Air Cutter to miss as I KO on turn 3, leading to Bronzor. I expected Purugly out next, but alas, that's not a problem as 2 Drain Punches nearly fully heals me through 2 extra sensories, getting rid of Regigigas' slow start and allowing me to set up another Safeguard and use Return to KO, leaving just Purugly. Fake Out does nothing, and Drain Punch nearly grabs the one-shot, and yeah, I know Return had more power technically, but I gotta follow the principle, man. I gotta punch the ugly cat in the face. Either way, the Citrus Berry activates, Purugly barely does any damage, then goes down to another punch in the face to win the fight. This is becoming all too satisfying, and thankfully, the next gym is an ice gym where I can punch plenty of them super effectively in the face. Though I did make sure to go back and teach Confuse Ray over Safeguard using a Heart Scale, entering the battle after giving Regigigas and Ayapapa Berry for healing. Probably should have gone for an Aspire Berry just in case the freak accident where I get frozen happens. After all, I got rid of Safeguard, but I figured I'd bet on the chances here. She leads off with Sneasel, so I go with Confuse Ray, taking a feint attack for light damage as the confusion gets to her to hit herself on turn 2. I take a slash on turn 3, and I'm just clicking Confuse Ray over and over again to, stall out slow start, and this manages to work, getting Drain Punch on turn 5 and bringing me back up to 75% after the Ayapapa Berry, leading to the end of slow start and the sweep. Obama Snow is a one-shot with a Drain Punch, which is awesome, though Frostlass is a bit of a jerk. At least it doesn't have Levitate though, so I can two-shot it with Earthquake after taking a nasty Blizzard with the Hail Up. That could have gone very poorly due to her Snow Cloak and potential to use Double Team, but thankfully all she's got left is Piloswine, falling to 2 Drain Punches after an Earthquake to win me the second to last badge. Alright, Regigigas is doing well at least, slow starts not being the worst thing in the world, and I think I have a pretty good chance of finishing this run on my first attempt. Let's see how the last bit of the Galactic stuff goes though. So there's 4 serious battles here. Cyrus, Saturn, the double battle against Mars and Jupiter, and Cyrus in the Distortion World, all of which have their rough spots but should be doable. The first Cyrus fight is made easy since he only has 3 Pokemon and Sneasel is still unevolved, so I can sweep through them after stalling Sneasel with Confuse Ray, right? 2 Screeches really puts a preemptive end to that plan, seeing as Crobat comes in after I use a Drain Punch because I know this thing is doing too much to my stats. Air Cutter's special though, so I can fuse it, then go for a return as slow start ends, KOing next turn as he hits himself twice in a row, KOing Honchkrow next after a Drain Punch and a return, taking a ton from a feint attack because holy moly, -4 defense is rough. Saturn poses a wee bit more of a threat though, it is the same team as before. Golbat's the lead, but instead of keeping Infuse Ray, I decided to just go with Safeguard with a held Pecha Berry in the event that I get boned by an instant poisoning off of a Poison Fang that outspeeds. But it happens to be worse than that. Golbat goes for Confuse Ray instead, landing and then getting Regigigas to hit itself twice in a row before I can get a Safeguard off, hitting 2 Poison Fangs in the process as a third lands once I manage to finally get Safeguard up. Thankfully, no double poison, that could have been disastrous because Poison Fang is toxic poison, but he's lucky enough to get the full 5 turns on Confusion, with the next turn being another hit to myself before getting out on turn 5, KOing with 2 returns in a row. Thank goodness, at least Slow Start is gone. Toxicroak is once again a one-shot with Earthquake, not doing anything as Bronzor comes in last. And I have got plenty of Drain Punch PP this time, thanks to Golbat's insane stall tactics, allowing me to hit 3 of them through 2 Gyro Balls for the KO and the win. 2 more, and I can't even begin to describe the play-by-play of the double battle on the Toposphere Pillar against Mars and Jupiter, because it's too complicated. I hate trying to commentate double battles, so I'm just gonna let it play for you while I ask you for your help. Yes, specifically your help. See, I do collaborative content over on Beast Coast Pokemon along with Aaron Cybertron Zhang, James Beck, and Celio's Network, You probably already know that because I say that in the intro, but the former two keep kicking mine and Celio's asses when it comes to people checking out the content. Simply put, people care more about the VGC than the TCG. But we're gonna change that. We're coming to the end of the TCG's Generation 1 era, with the newest episode currently being Gym Heroes, and it only has around 400 views compared to the videos that both Cybertron and James are a part of, bookending it, both with around 3,000 each. What I need you to do is go down into the description, click the channel, and check out the Gym Heroes video after this. Yeah, don't have to watch all the way through, but at least give it a chance. I know there's a major disconnect between the players of the games and the cards. Heck, there's a disconnect between card collectors and those who actually play the card game. It's the only IP where this seems to happen, since Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh! Both have extensive player bases with very few dedicated collectors, but I digress. If we can get that video to hit 4,000 views, I'm going to give away 2 copies of the Gold Rare Arceus V-Star from the newest Brilliant Stars set over on my Twitter. Thank you for your help, and let's throw down with Cyrus in the Distortion world. He's since added 2 new Pokemon to his team, the first of which being Houndoom, and it has Will-O-Wisp, so I go into the battle with a Rostberry, having it consumed immediately as I set up Safeguard, keeping myself unburned until Slow Start wears off. Taking 2 flamethrowers as I fire off a Drain Punch and a Thunderbolt, a TM that I made sure to grab before this, to get him into the red, seeing a turn wasted on a full restore as another Drain Punch hits, with turn 5 being 1 more Drain Punch as Flamethrower lands once more, keeping Regigigas at around 80% HP and without Slow Start going into the rest of Cyrus's team. Honchkrow is out next, and I know Drain Punch is weird here, but going for this allows me to go back to full, take a Drill Peck, and barely take any net damage as Thunderbolt KOs next turn. 2 down, 3 to go as Gyarados enters the scene, with Intimidate screwing me over for the rest of the fight, but Thunderbolt doesn't even one-shot this thing, which is a surprise because it's quad weak, making Regigigas take a fat waterfall to bring it down to around 1/3 HP, allowing me to KO next turn with a Thunderbolt and lead into Weavile. I feel like I might be done for upon seeing the fake out here, and the outspeed with Ice Punch only cements that. Until I see Regigigas survive on 2 HP, KOing with Drain Punch from full and getting back up to a little over 1/3, being just enough to survive 2 of Crobat's Cross Poisons, firing off 2 Thunderbolts to KO his last Pokemon and win on 7 HP. Told you I couldn't get rid of Drain Punch. It is absolutely needed to get through that fight, and without going above the level cap. After all, Regigigas being level 49 for this fight and the cap being 50 already means I'm cutting it very close. So with that, I can run away from Gardenia, head into Sunyshore City, and present Regigigas to the last gym leader, Volkner. And I don't know if it was a surprise to you, but with Earthquake on my moveset, this fight was a joke. The lead Jolteon was a little threatening, seeing as I forgot it had Thunder Wave, but a turn 1 Charge Beam makes it fine since Earthquake brings it into the red, then I can fire off Safeguard as he heals, letting an Earthquake and Drain Punch take it out as Charge Beam doesn't get another special attack boost, KOing and leading to Raichu. It lands Focus Blast! Great, bringing me down to 24 HP, but an Earthquake is able to KO despite Slow Start technically still being active. But since this is turn 5, this ends Slow Start and allows me to one-shot Electivire and Luxray with 1 Earthquake apiece, outspeeding both and winning the fight, giving me the Beacon Badge and allowing me to progress to the league. So, funny story, I was actually going to do a bit here where I gaslit the out of all of you by doing a little ROM hack and making Jasmine a battleable NPC complete with a Sinnoh version of the Johto Gym Battle theme. Not the one from HCSS, rather the one that is in the sound font of Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, which you should be able to hear in the background. I've left a link to the person's recreation of the song in the description, since I think it's criminally underrated, and it's on the Japanese part of YouTube that's pretty hard to get recommended to you unless you're truly digging for gold or live in Japan. Anyway, Victory Road doesn't provide any trouble for me, letting me get to level 58 after going through the region and fighting just about every trainer I hadn't taken down before, leaving just Barry, the Elite Four, and Cynthia. But holy moly, Barry is a hell of a fight. Staraptor is a terrible lead for us, seeing as close combat can just about end Regigigas' day at any point. However, I think I have a way to work around it. Intimidate also ruins our day, but after taking a close combat, I can go for Confuse Ray, and thankfully, we nail the 50-50 as he hits himself in confusion, allowing me to set up the newest attack we added in Substitute. This holds and allows Staraptor to use a second close combat to KO the sub, with Drain Punch doing well over half as our new Shell Bell that I got from Heart Home City gives me even more healing. But now he's going for Aerial Ace. He should still have 3 points of close combat left. Not that I'm complaining, I'm able to save a bunch of HP here, landing a second Confuse Ray and doing enough to nearly KO Staraptor, giving me a great opportunity to set up a second Substitute and KO with a Drain Punch while the sub stays alive. Alright, this should give me enough of a buffer to get past Heracross. Earthquake does under half though, but Night Slash is unable to break the sub, so I use Confuse Ray, getting him to use Close Combat next turn, then KOing thanks to a Drain Punch, a hit from a Confusion, and a second Earthquake. Dear lord, this battle is hanging on by a thread. Not much more I can do about it, but thankfully Infernape's an easy one. One Earthquake and it's gone despite being -1 from Intimidate, and Floatzel's also outsped and hit with Drain Punch for nearly half, going for Brick Break and not doing nearly as much as I expected. The second Drain Punch heals more than Brick Break deals, allowing for an Earthquake to pick up that last bit of HP to KO Floatzel, leading to Snorlax. And yeah, here's where the fight starts picking back up for me, as Snorlax takes a little over half from Drain Punch, giving me plenty of HP, but of course, the first Body Slam just has to paralyze. Couldn't just sit idly by and be a nice friend, huh? Well, at least after the second Body Slam, he decides to use Rest since I was held down for a turn by paralysis, healing Regigigas almost a full thanks to 2 more Drain Punches KOing after the rest, leaving just Roserade. Yes, the Pokemon I always one-shot. Let's see if I can do it through Intimidate. And nope, it's off by just a hair. Understandable, have a nice day. Alright, with all the necessary items and TMs required for me to beat the league, I'm ready to do this. Leave your final predictions down below in the comments if I can win or not on the first attempt, and let's try to take him down. Aaron's first up on the docket, and probably the easiest. While Yanmega is a bit of a crazy Pokemon with both Speed Boost and Double Team, I have the consistency of Aerial Ace, a one-time available TM that bypasses the accuracy check that's also super effective. Pretty handy, I've gotta say. Turn 1, I see a Double Team, and a Confuse Ray lands. Great sign for sure, so I go for Drain Punch to drain the clock, taking a Bug Buzz for light damage, as turn 3 I see U-Turn. Yeah, that's bad. Here comes Heracross, but thankfully I went for Confuse Ray again because I know my luck is terrible, landing it on Heracross, seeing him hit himself on turn 4, allowing for Aerial Ace to pick up the KO despite being weakened by Slow Start. Guess it doesn't matter. When you're quad weak, you're quad weak, unless you're Gyarados, I guess. Out comes Vespiquen, and I'm not worried. I hit Confuse Ray on turn 5 as he goes for Defend Order, ending Slow Start and allowing me to go for Aerial Ace for over half as Attack Order barely does anything, finishing her off next turn with another Aerial Ace as Yanmega comes back in. Aerial Ace is easily able to slice through, though he does hang on by a thread, using Bug Buzz for some damage and going down to 2 more Aerial Aces after a full restore. Though he wastes his last turn on Double Team. Guess he didn't read the effect text of Aerial Ace. Fourth is Scizor, and it's the only Pokemon I can get away with using Drain Punch on, and it makes sense. So I use it to keep me healthy through Iron Head and X-Scissor, barely missing the KO twice in a row, seeing a full restore come down, finally KOing on the 5th and final attack in Aerial Ace. All that's left is Drapion, and without a bug type accompanying it, Earthquake is a one-shot KO thanks to its poison typing, winning me the first of 5. Alright, now we gotta fix Regigigas for the next fight. Bertha's a ground user, and so by getting rid of Aerial Ace for Avalanche, we've got a great move that plays around Slow Start at the beginning, though it does get a little worse later on, while also still having Drain Punch and Earthquake, so we should be fine. She starts off with Whiscash, so I fire off Confuse Ray, getting outsped and seeing a Sandstorm on turn 1. That's nothing I can't handle. I can just keep the chip damage light by using Drain Punch for the next 4 turns, and using the Shell Bell held item to keep the HP higher than it would be normally. The next few turns we trade Earth Power and Drain Punch until turn 4 where she hits herself, allowing for me to land an uncontested Drain Punch, leading to a full restore where I use Confuse Ray on turn 5, leading to the end of Slow Start and to the beginning of the end for her. A critical Earth Power isn't nearly enough to push Regigigas even to below 2/3, KOing with an Earthquake as Gliscor is out second. It goes for Earthquake as Avalanche because of its negative priority, grabs the one-shot after turning into a 120 power move after getting damaged, healing a bit with the Shell Bell as Hippowdon's third. and this is probably her most dangerous Pokemon. Though 2 confusion hits in a row sure does help, with Avalanche doing massive damage. She also hits herself on the 3rd turn of confusion, which is pretty piss poor luck for her, but great for me, as Avalanche grabs the KO, leaving just Golem and Rhyperior. The former's out next, getting wrecked by a Drain Punch critical that nearly heals Regigigas back to full, with Rhyperior feeling the brute force of Earthquake, falling to 2 of them even through a Citrus Berry, only landing an Earthquake of her own before the fall. Alright, 2 down, and honestly I'm feeling pretty confident about everyone aside from Cynthia. Flint's fantastically easy thanks to my entire moveset, and I opt to keep Avalanche since I see it coming in handy against Cynthia. I do swap my held item in for a Rossberry though, as I can see this fight coming down to the wire if I don't, and Flamethrower on Houndoom ends up, well, burning me. First out is Houndoom, leading with a Sunny Day as I lead Confuse Ray, getting him to hit himself as Drain Punch lands for massive damage, leading to a full restore on turn 3. I click Avalanche for a little bit of damage, leading to him swapping on turn 4 into Infernape. Not good, he sees me trying to get rid of Slow Start, with Drain Punch barely doing anything. I'm still at full HP though, so I just go for Earthquake as he goes for Flare Blitz instead of a fighting type move, and doing a ton to himself and allowing me to pick up the KO in the 5th and final turn of Slow Start with Earthquake. This should be the end of the game though, as Earthquake is able to one-shot Flareon, Rapidash, and Magmortar, with Houndoom finally cycling back in and falling to the same fate. Yeah, that's basically how I assumed it would go, get past Slow Start, then Earthquake KOs everything. However, this is where the game's gonna take a weird turn. I'm actually finally gonna get rid of Drain Punch. The lead Pokemon of Lucian's is a Psychic type, which resists and has dual screens, and Cynthia has Spiritomb, a Ghost type that I cannot hit whatsoever with Drain Punch, and I'm not getting Foresight anytime soon, so I replace it with Return. This lets me keep Avalanche for Cynthia's Garchomp, Togekiss, and Roserade, and lets me keep the rest of my moves as well. As for Lucian, this fight is rather easy thanks to Mr. Mime being able to only stall, which is what my goal is for the first 5 turns as it is. He goes for Reflect on turn 1 as I use Confuse Ray, getting him to hit himself on turn 2 as Return lands for over half. In turn 3, we see him get out of Confusion, land Psychic, then go back into Confusion because I use Confuse Ray since I know my luck is terrible. Turn 4 sees him hit himself again as Avalanche is used, seeing as I want this thing to stay alive until Slow Start ends, and sure enough this strategy works. A full restore comes out on turn 5, allowing me to hit Return for half, then ending Slow Start as I pick up the KO with a second Return. Sweet, the rest of this fight should be trivial. Galade's a one-shot with Return, getting outsped and handling the fighting type that I was worried about, with Alakazam outspeeding as it comes out 3rd, nailing a Focus Blast for half as Return KOs from full HP, recovering quite a bit thanks to the Shell Bell. 4th is Espeon, another one-shot with Return, leaving just Bronzong, and despite this thing being a brick wall mostly for all of my moves, Return still nearly does half to it, outpacing his damage with Psychic and a full restore recovery, letting me take it out in 5 returns to win the fight. Now that's what I'm talking about. One more fight, first attempt, right on level for Cynthia's ace Pokemon. It should be intense, but a rewarding fight. Cynthia starts out with Spiritomb, but with a 5-level advantage, I'm able to outspeed and nail Confuse Ray in turn 1, seeing her hit herself for a free turn, as turn 2 she snaps out and uses Dark Pulse as Earthquake does under half. Turn 3, I use another Confuse Ray, she hits Dark Pulse again, but then she hits herself again on turn 4, letting me hit another Earthquake that helps bring her into full restore range just in time for turn 5, hitting a critical Earthquake for over half, and because I'm an idiot, giving her another turn to attack by using Avalanche with a negative priority to pick up the KO. I kinda needed to do this though to conserve Earthquake power points, as I needed it to KO her second Pokemon, Lucario. 3rd out is Togekiss, and Return doesn't quite one-shot, not a good sign as our Sphere does a crap ton of damage, though seeing a full restore makes me happy since that's just more Shell Bell recovery, taking it down in 2 more returns as the big, bad boy Garchomp comes out, and good thing she used that full restore before. I'm able to survive an Earthquake on 5 HP, KOing with an Avalanche from full. Things are looking rough, especially with Milotic out 5th. If Roserade was out here, I would have been able to get the Shell Bell recovery on the one-shot, but Milotic being out is super scary. All I can hope for is a Mirror Coat and her being stupid, and I don't get it, seeing Ice Beam. Surviving on 18 HP, once again being saved by the Shell Bell. She full restores, letting me KO with 2 more returns and get to Roserade, which I one-shot with return, finishing the fight and the run on attempt number 1, baby. And you guys thought Regigigas was going to be hard. Well, it was, and I definitely got lucky a few times, so that was probably about as good as the run gets with the limited resources you're given. I also had a pretty bad nature in Sassy, so I was rather handicapped throughout most of the run, but I'm really happy with the result. Anyway, make sure to leave a comment below with your request of game and what legendary you want me to run through it with, because I'm always looking for new ideas, and I hope to give you guys the content you want. See you next time. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you like this video, make sure to check out this other one on screen. You'll probably enjoy it too. Also, make sure to like and subscribe, and if you really enjoy the content and want to help support the creation of it, you can head over to my Patreon page and help support. Speaking of which, shoutouts to my $5 and above patrons: Arantula, Aaron Ladeau, Aaron Rhinesmith, Aiden Brannon, Andy, Casper Patrick, Cryptic Gamer, I'm Flo, Jacob Johnson, Justin Dimmenstein, Kevin, Leon Matog, Zeno, and Zachary Keever. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you guys next time.